whistleblower or a criminal, Snowden told the South Morning Post, "I'm neither traitor nor hero. I am an American. I believe in freedom of expression. I acted in good faith, but it is only right that the public form its own opinion." While today's Senate cybersecurity hearing wasn't intended to be about this week's revelations, it took center stage. The NSA Director General Keith Alexander said this.
I do think what we're doing does protect American civil liberties and privacy. The issue is, to date, we've not been able to explain it because it's classified.
Questions loom, however. Can we believe everything that Snowden says? How much does Big Brother really know about our lives? And can we do anything about it? Here to answer those questions from the War Room headquarters in San Francisco is Susan Freiwald, a cyber law expert and privacy expert at University of San Francisco School of Law. Thank you so much for joining us, Susan.
Thank you for having me.
I want to begin with a clip from The Guardian where Snowden's talking about the NSA's collection of private information. So watch that with me.
You don't have to have done anything wrong. You simply have to eventually fall under suspicion from somebody, even by a wrong call. And then they can use the system to go back in time and scrutinize every decision you've ever made, every friend you've ever discussed something with, and attack you on that basis.
Susan, to what extent is the NSA actually collecting information on everyday American citizens?
Well, it's important to keep in mind that there are two programs that we've learned about through Snowden's revelations. One is the 215 program, the program pursuant to Patriot Act 215, Section 215. And under that program, the NSA and the FBI collected every bit of what they're calling metadata, which is all the non-content information associated with phone calls, going back 7 years, and that's on every American. And so that's everything about who you called on the phone, how long you're on the phone, where you were when you made a call, the duration of the call. That's a tremendous amount of information, and they've said they've done it, and it's for every single American, every day. The other program is the PRISM program.
Right, that's what I was going to ask you about.
It's much less clear what exactly has been collected under that program.
What will bring clarity to that, do you think? How will we learn more about what comes to PRISM? Is it going to take another sort of the Edward Snowden of PRISM to do that?
There's a couple ways we could get more clarity. One, the Electronic Frontier Foundation is moving very vehemently to get the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to release an opinion under which they found that the procedures were unconstitutional that the NSA was using, that they weren't adequately minimizing the acquisition of U.S. person data, and that some of their other procedures were unconstitutional. So there's apparently an 86-page decision that the Electronic Frontier Foundation is trying to make public. There are other people who are asking, I guess the big tech companies are asking Attorney General Holden to release more information about what's going on so that the American public won't assume the worst. I think there are some other senators who are asking the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to make its opinions known.
Right.
There needs to be more transparency, and there are principles for that. And I think if enough pressure comes to bear on the administration, we'll learn more.
Yeah, and that makes all the sense in the world, especially when you talk about the transparency. But another issue here is the government's growing use of contractors like Booz Allen in defense and intelligence. Tell us a little bit about that. That is, to me, actually a huge issue.
Well, it's a huge issue because it's impossible to control that many people. In the wake of 9/11, the intelligence network just grew so quickly, and there's been a lot of excellent books written about that. But they had to hire a huge number of people, and apparently Booz Allen, I think, contracts at $1 billion a year in consultants dedicated to intelligence work. And how do you make sure that each one of those people is respecting the law, let alone whether the law itself is correct? But that's why principles like an audit trail, a verifiable audit trail, oversight, reporting to Congress are so important to implement. And I just haven't heard that they have enough of those in place.
Yeah, it doesn't yet seem like they do. Snowden made some shocking claims in his interview, as we know, but one of them was that he has the ability to wiretap anyone. How true do you think this is?
Well, that's a tough question. One of the things that people have been talking a lot about in recent days is whether or not the NSA has a direct pipe into Google or Facebook or the like. And there's, of course, the tech companies are saying absolutely no way. And I'm, I don't know what to think. I don't know how we would know whether they do or not. But I think whether or not that's going on, that the NSA has, direct, unfettered, and unfiltered access, I think it's clear that that under current law, they are able to get very, very broad access to information on a real-time basis, only having to assert that their program has a 51% chance or more of disclosing information about a non-U.S. person.
Yeah.
And so there's a tremendous amount of information that can be collected that they're storing. They're going to store in this gigantic Utah warehouse and, in Fort Meade. They have tremendous capacity to store information, and I think it's quite possible, likely, it's real that our communications are in there. Now, is it any of our communications? I don't know.
It's hard to know, and it's probable that we won't ever. Let me play you a clip quickly of the NSA director, who we heard from earlier, General Keith Alexander, defending the collection of phone records to help with terrorism investigations.
All you're looking for on that is, so who did he talk to?
Yeah.
So the system just gives us back who he was talking to. But if you didn't collect it, how do you know who he was talking to? And so the issue really becomes, if you don't have the information, so I don't give you any connections, I just give you a number and say, now find who he's talking to, you don't have the information.
We mentioned it before, Susan. You heard Alexander there. Why should, in short, the people of America be concerned about the Patriot Act Section 215?
Because they're mass collecting about every single person going back, it's over 7 years, every single communication attribute, that's what I've called it in my scholarship, that we've made. And from that, you can learn about people's political views, about their religious activities, about the sources for journalists, where they spend their time. It's too much power to put into the hands of one government, particularly one branch of the government. Yeah. And we don't even know that the methods they're using are effective.
That's the problem, is figuring out the efficacy of it. So we appreciate your input to this. Susan Freiwald, we always say there's always someone in our war room. Today it's you, Susan Freiwald. Thank you so much. Law professor at the University of San Francisco. Up next.